Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is the guide for Kyoto Driving Park, Yamagiwa and Miyabi in reverse with the Dodge Viper Gr.4. And let's get this started by mentioning that the brake balance is at +2 or 2 to the rear for more rotation, and we're using the racing hard tires. And if you want a car that can handle turns better, since this track is a little bit twisty, the Renault Megane Trophy is a very good choice here as well. But anyways, your first braking point is just as you pass the 100 meter board. Brake hard for a while and take your time easing off of the brakes as you turn in, and gently get under throttle as this turn is a little long and drawn out. Bring yourself towards the left, brake before you reach the 50 meter board. Brake hard for a short moment, slowly ease off of the brakes and take advantage of the curbs as they are still within track limits. Then bring yourself towards the left, brake just as the curb on the left starts, so you're braking right around here. Brake hard for a while, and just like the first turn, you just want to take your time easing off of the brakes as you turn in, and take your time getting onto throttle. Now this is where it starts to get really tricky, and this is one of those parts where you want to be really careful. Bring yourself towards the right, and just as you're about to hit the apex of this right turn, so you want to lift off of throttle, then start to apply the brakes. Brake as much as you can in a straight line, slowly ease off of the brakes as you turn in, and you want to take your time getting on the throttle. Don't rush it because you can spin out here as this part has a lot of elevation changes and the car can easily get unstable. Then bring yourself towards the left, turn in when the curb on the left ends, and just lift off of throttle. As you're pointing away from the very final grandstand, that's when you want to start to get on the throttle. And for the S's coming up, you want to do a little bit more throttle control, especially for the right turn. There we go, just a little bit of throttle control to make the turn, and just as you pass the 100 meter board, that is when you want to start to brake. So brake hard for a while, nice and easy off of the brakes. Try to bring yourself towards the middle of the track as you want to brake just before you reach the Marshall stand that is on the right. Be very careful through here. Nice and easy off of the brakes, and take your time getting on the throttle. Just in general, take your time going through the hairpins that connect both Yamagiwa and Miyabi together. So both hairpins, because the elevations are different and it can cause the car to get unstable if you're careless. Then turn in when the curb on the left is about to end. Use a little bit of braking so you can try to bring yourself a bit closer to the curbs on the right and carefully get on the throttle. Now for the downhill S's, it's going to be all about lifting off of throttle just to let the car rotate its way through the S's. Once again, just lift off of throttle, the car will turn in a bit more. Bring yourself towards the left, and your final braking point is the 50 meter board. So you're using some braking power, you're just trying to slow it down just enough while still having the ability to turn, and just as you point towards the trees, that's when you can start to fully accelerate. But that is pretty much it for the lap guide. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the strategies. And as we transition over to the race strategies, we are doing 8 laps at Kyoto Driving Park, Yamagiwa and Miyabi in reverse with the Gr.4 cars. Fuel is at ×2, so fuel is not an issue. Tire wear is at ×4, and we only have the racing hard tires to work with, so tire wear is not an issue at all. So you think, oh yeah, this is a pretty easy 0-stop race, yada da da da, boring daily race C, yada da da. No, actually, this is a weird daily race C because there is something that we haven't seen before, and you'll see it if you go over to the race details. You'll see on the bottom that we have to make a pit stop, so we have to pit at least one time. So you want to be very aware of that because you don't want to do a 0-stop and suddenly find yourself with a nice gift of a 1-minute penalty. So yes, you do have to pit. The question is when you want to pit, and honestly that's going to be up to you and the situation around you. You may want to pit at the end of lap 1 if you're starting in the back to try to go for a major undercut, or if you're starting in the front, you can try to pit as late as lap 7 to just try to get away from everyone before you eventually do have to pit. Now, what makes this race a bit weird is that when you pit, you can either choose to take tires or you can just go for a drive-through. You'll see what I mean as we go on over to the pit stop at the end of lap 1. Going to try to go for a major undercut, and I'm not going to change tires. I'm not going to refuel. I'm basically just doing a drive-through. So I'm eventually going to appear in the pit stops. There we go. And we're just going to go ahead and say hello to our pit crew and then be on our way out. Yeah, really weird pit stop. But anyways, pit loss for doing a drive-through is around 15 seconds. Whereas if you do decide to take tires, you lose an additional 2 seconds. So you lose 17 seconds if you do decide to go for a tire change. And yeah, this race is a bit of a weird one because tire wear is not an issue, and you pretty much have to pit anywhere between the end of lap 1 to lap 7. So you're going to have people pitting just all over the place, so you may eventually have to deal with people coming out of the pit stops trying to get out of the way so you don't hit them, or getting held up by people who haven't pitted yet. It's going to be a bit of a chaotic race as it'll be a bit difficult to tell who has pitted and who hasn't pitted yet. So for example, the car in 5th place, I didn't know they pitted until they made their way in. Then we got a couple cars coming out of the pit stops at the end of lap 5, start of lap 6. And yeah, it's going to be a bit chaotic with all these pit stop strategies going into play, as there's pretty much a gigantic pit window. As for the go-to cars, I think the Megane Trophy is looking like it'll be one of the best, if not the absolute best car to use for this race, as it's very agile through all these twisty turns. The Viper, it's alright. It's not the best car, but you can still get a bit of work done with it, especially as this is a power car. Do let me know in the comments what people are using in your races. But anyways, let's go ahead and do places to overtake and the penalty serving zone, because I should have been asleep about 4 hours ago since I have something to do later today. Main Straight is a really great place to go for an overtake, and the first penalty serving zone is hanging out just before the start finish line. So if you have a penalty to serve, that's one place where you may end up serving it. So once again, Main Straight, one great place to go for a move. And the S's that are coming up, or the chicane that is coming up right here, you can go for a move, although be a bit more situational, and just try to be a little careful, as it's very easy to accidentally get pushed off or vice versa. This next hairpin, another place where it is possible to go for a move. There's actually quite a few places where it is possible to try to go for overtake, especially with the track being a bit wider. And be especially careful through the hairpins that connect both tracks, as the track gets a little bit uneven. It can be really easy to spin out, so just be a little careful through here. And here is the next penalty serving zone just after you enter Miyabi. For this upcoming right turn, it is possible to try to go for a move, but pick your battles, as I've said in some of the other videos, because if you end up getting into battles, especially for these higher speed turns, then you do risk losing a lot of time. So if you're not able to get a move done, then just wait it out, especially as there is another place where it is possible to go for a move, and it's through these hairpins. So the hairpin at Miyabi, and then the hairpin right after, it is possible to go for a move, but especially for this hairpin, just be nice and careful through here. It's easy to lose control if you're not careful enough. And this right turn, situational when it comes to overtaking. If you go too wide, or if you just fight it out through here, you do risk losing a lot of time. But one place where you don't want to go for a move is through the downhill S's. So don't try to force a move, because it's probably going to end up in a disaster and you'll end up crying tears of sadness. But anyways, final place to go for a move is through the very last turn. But just be aware that if you do start to fight it out through the final turn, you do risk losing a lot of time, as this is a bit more of a high-speed turn. But anyways, that's all for me, because I really need to catch a bit of sleep because I have an appointment in like 2-3 hours. But yeah, thank you guys for the support. You can see that I did not get a penalty just by doing a drive-through. So drive-throughs are possible. You can change tires. You don't have to change tires. Just as long as you make a pit stop, then you are good to go. So this is Mr. MCA wishing you guys an awesome race. Thank you guys for the support. Thank you to Playseat for supporting the channel. Make sure you do a pit stop before Daily Race C, and I'll see you guys in the next video.